Hey, how you guys doing? It's producer from Brothers Comics. Welcome to the Marvel Hacks. We are back, y'all, to start the conclusion of Legion Quest and the start of the Age of Apocalypse with X-Men Alpha. We'll get to that all in a minute. On the line tonight, it's Brothers Beavis, man. What's happening?
Hey, we actually made it, or well, presuming this goes off, we will have made it finally through Legion Quest after all
Yeah,
these years.
After
yeah,
what, 8 years?
yeah. Again, if you're a long timer, we did Legion Quest Part One probably 6 years ago. Never got to the other parts. Thought we had recorded it, didn't quite make it. But yeah, we're finally getting through it, and on to the Age of Apocalypse, which we teased for a long time. And then also on the line is Big Hutch. What's happening, man?
What's up?
Yeah, so we're gonna really jump into these books tonight. If you're following on YouTube, there's a lot of information that's going to come up on the screen so we can get through. Because as I told the fellows before we got started yesterday, that Legion Quest Part Four, man, I don't know if it's maybe in line with most modern comics. Like the final issue of this miniseries is like, well, I guess we're done. Like get here to the end. There's really not a lot going on, especially Brother Beavis in a book that you knew the conclusion to even before 1995.
Yeah, they were like, we gave you enough clues. Hopefully, you figured it out by now. Why are y'all still here? Like, but
Yeah.
yeah, there's
Ferris Bueller.
a solid half the book is just them saying goodbye, and then the rest of it is just the big
Yeah.
conflict. What
The
would be the big
bridge.
CGI finish for
Yeah.
Yeah. And additionally, as you said, that part too, it's just, they kind of repeated a lot of the stuff that was in Cable 20 as well, like where they
Mhm.
go back and look at people essentially saying their Lord of the Ring goodbyes. And it's just the same thing, as
Which
they're,
is one more reason you don't need the side brother side books on
yeah,
these
exactly. Woo.
multi-part stories.
Exactly. Yeah, we're just awaiting for the crystal to overwhelm them and us for the most part. So let's set the show, y'all. All right. So we're going to do X-Men 41. That is the final part of Legion Quest. And
Woohoo!
then yeah, and then X-Men Alpha, that is the start of the Age of Apocalypse, the introductory book. And then we'll talk a little bit more about Age of Apocalypse as we get into that book and really towards the end of it about what it's actually going to splinter off to in terms of the podcast. So we got that. We're going to review of that. We'll recap part three. But we're gonna play Kubert face all throughout this book because it crosses all ethnicities, borders. Like I mean, it's not. It is there for the taking, man. Once you start noticing Kubert face, you can't even stop it. We're gonna talk about addictions, and the fellows don't know what that's about, but we'll get to that part too. The most haunting final scene in particular shows and movies. So we'll talk about that a little bit too. Those are YouTube topics. And then X Men Alpha to set the table again for the Age of Apocalypse. All right, so let's jump right in. All right. So our creative team, Fabian the Sensor he is getting screwed here, Hutch and Brother Beavis here. This man co-created Deadpool, but you never hear about it. This
Nope.
is a major story in the X-Men lore, and he does not get his props, Hutch, like at all.
He doesn't. And I mean, his name is attached to a lot of stories from the 90s that, or and whatnot, that people still talk about,
Yeah,
like us.
I met him at Comic Con Revolution a few years ago, and I mean, he's at I mean, again, if Mr. Feet Drawer showed up at a convention, he's gonna have like the big table, the big thing, like he's gonna have this whole thing. He was at a table that I'm sitting at right now to record this podcast, Brother Beavis. Like that doesn't even seem right based on the history of the books that he's had.
Yeah, but this was, you got to remember, this was the era of the artist. So the creative, for better or worse, the creative force behind these books was attributed to the artist, which is what gave rise to Image. And then we found
Yeah.
out you actually do kind of need words behind that to get anything other than splash pages and action figures.
Yeah, nice. Speaking of covers here, this is a solid cover by Mr. Cooper there. He could take one face out so he didn't have to show it. So make it the
Well, yeah,
exact
there's
same
only
face.
one face, so
Yeah,
it doesn't look bad.
yeah, it's a solid cover here. All right, let's jump in. Matt Ryan, Hutch, he was. completed a few passes, but choked at the end of the game. He also did the inks as well. All right.
Yes.
Yeah. Touchy subject for Atlanta folks, by the way. All right. So,
Mm.
all right. So in the present, in recapping the last issue, in the present, the X-Men are essentially, they came up with this neogenic recombinator plan to send Cable back to the past to tell the X-Men that were in the past that things are happening there and they need to figure this out. And also, Legion had inappropriate relations with his mother, dressed up
Wildly
as Charles
inappropriate.
Xavier, like wildly inappropriate relationship with his mother. And then the book essentially ended on him, about to attack Magneto after he had inappropriate relationship with his mother. That's basically it. It if issue 3 was a filler, that was definitely filler. Okay, like I mean, it was a completely filler book to get us to this particular point, and that's that. I'm gonna press pause. This is my daughter calling. Hold on. All right, y'all, and we're back. All right, so yes, that was basically all of that issue. It was a complete filler issue just to get us to the particular point, and it ends with that splash page of Legion coming at Magneto, like you're killed my father's dream, and now I'm going to kill you. Blah blah blah. Like that's pretty much it. All right, so let's jump into this week's book. All right, this book moves very fast. I said that to y'all at the start of this. We jump right into it. There's essentially fire in the sky. The X-Men have been freed from the Matrix in the past, and they are there watching Legion and Magneto have this fire in this, this fight in the sky over this, with Legion ranting and raving about, Magneto being this evil person that's going to kill his father's dream, and Magneto going, "What the fuck? What you talking about, Willis?" Like he has no idea like what this is going on. Brother Beavis, explain the science here for me. This man who ain't never used his powers before is holding off this, I don't know, high level
Omega
mutant.
class.
Yeah, close to Omega class mutant without ever used his powers before.
Well,
Help me
I
out.
think when they power up Iceman here, I think we're led to believe that the temporal energies being exuded by Legion are sort of giving these like unlocking what their sort of their
Potential.
their minds know. But that works for Iceman because he's from the future and Magneto
Mhm.
is not. I guess
Yeah.
you just chalk it up to Magneto is really powerful, so
Okay.
he's just getting a crash course in his own powers.
Is Magneto a Mary Sue here? Is basically what we're asking. Yeah. Because he just woke up one day and was a master Jedi. Can we talk about Storm's boobs, Hutch? Where are you two?
I
What's going
mean,
on here, man?
that's a heck. That's a grab. Be a great poster.
Yeah,
When did they get their costumes back?
yeah, that's another part too. Yeah, it's just
Olivia Nunn's not too bad either over there.
yeah, that's yeah. It just I mean, again, it's we say this all the time. It's because comics. It's really
Yeah.
it. If you breathe too much into it, if you think too much
It's
about it, it's not
wrestling. It's
going to
like
be
wrestling.
entertaining.
That's what it
A
is.
100%. Like you just cannot look too far past the surface. Because if you do, it just becomes
It's
ridiculous.
kayfabe.
Right. All right. And there we go. All right. So I smell mutants, y'all. So as Charles wakes up from being knocked out from when Legion attacked at the end after he had inappropriate relationships with Gabriella Holler, I'm gonna keep harping on that. Um, he gets a chance to actually see like all these things he's talking about. In the previous books, he's been like, him and Magneto at bars fighting people and talking about, people with special powers, even though they never, came out to each other as mutants. They're like, oh, this is actually, a real thing. And then now he's actually starting to see it literally around him, with his friend and his like future
Drinking
students or
buddy.
whatever. And
Man,
I mean, it's a real interesting part. There's a massive Kubert face, by the way, on that shot with him and Gabriella Holler at the bottom. And
Those are the two faces of Kubert.
yeah, exactly. Well, she has her mouth open at least. So, like, I mean, this is really, seeing that. And then you got, it's a standard comic book fight. Again, Bishop's powers are kind of nebulous. Like, yeah, he's sucking up all of this energy from the sky somehow. And, Psylocke is essentially trying to find Charles Xavier in all of this mess. Again, it feels like I'm kind of shitting on it, but what are y'all
You
thinking at
are.
this point? I'm not, but I don't think that I am. What do y'all think at this point?
More to come, more scenes to come. So yeah, I mean, we got a great whatever that queen four face thing on the last page, and now here we are trying to get it all together. Yes, Bishop's powers are very nebulous, as you call it, but yeah, here we go.
My thing was like Charles was, I think, talking a lot of noise last time when he was bar fighting. Now it's like, okay, here's your mutants. He's like, oh, I never imagined it would be like this. I'm like, I thought this was like what you were
Yeah,
preparing for. Too
yeah,
much too
yeah,
soon for Charles, but yeah,
yeah.
he seems to regress. Like he was ready to like snap necks last week. This week he's like, oh, there's so much going on.
Yeah, and I mean, and they do a lot of like the reveals here. Like, I don't think I have it on a slide, but they trying to bring it together. Be like, oh, I met you, Storm, when
Yeah,
you were a little kid in,
yeah.
in Egypt and all of these types of things. And so, yeah, I mean, they try to bring it all together. The next part of this or whatever, this is where I was talking about before, where they kind of just repeated what happened
Mm-hmm.
in Cable 20, where they go back into the present and where you see essentially the original X-Men. They're there, essentially watching this wave that's about to come and crystallize them and wipe them off the face of the planet. Xavier gets to have his moment with his space boo, who's nothing but trouble. As always, he's the absolute worst. She's like, the crystal's coming. I don't really know what to do. Sorry, I'm gonna run this entire freaking galaxy and empire, but crystals, man. Like, I don't really know. And it really is just this recap, like, and it's kind of like whatever. And we do get a chance, even though I don't see it on here. Like, I think I told y'all after I posted that reel, which is a shorter version of a video. Like, we really not argued. We really talked for like 90 plus seconds about essentially if Gambit and Rogue were functional illiterates. And it was the most thing that anybody listened to this whole podcast. So, like, I don't know if y'all people are interested in the comic books or if y'all just want us to sit here and talk about how the ridiculous some of these characters.
What happened? What?
We
We were debating whether they've been to school or not, and we
Oh, yeah.
discovered that at
Yeah,
best Gambit was from the School of Hard Knocks. So.
Yes, at best, yes. And
he was homeschooled at the School of Hard Knocks.
yes, exactly. Yeah, it's just kind of funny. I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's what y'all are interested in. But yeah, so the wave is coming, and they're really preparing for that. Angel, again, this was a repeat almost from Cable 20. He's like, oh, I finally found Betsy, and now I'm going to lose her. And Rogue and Gambit are there. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
about
he's
to say
smoking,
goodbye
and
to each other.
she wants to
Yeah,
make out.
it's just like a mess. It was just kind of weird as it was kind of getting towards the end and the conclusion of this particular book. All right. So the battle continues to wage on, and the X-Men are like, you know what? About to end this. Let's send in Iceman. Huh? Yes.
Yeah.
Iceman, who's been doubting his powers and doubting having his confidence a little bit shaken, over the course of these books.
Because he's on the all carpet team for 50 years.
Yeah, exactly. He's
always laid out.
I'm gonna freeze everything down to the molecules, man. Like, I'm about to freeze them or whatever. And it's so funny in this as you're going through it, and Bishop is like, I'm surprised. And then he gives him this long explanation. He was like, yeah, I didn't need all of that, basically. You didn't need to tell me all that. Like, and again, it could never be this easy. Like, oh my God, he froze him, and that's the end of it. That's the end of a freaking Spider-Man and X-Men, or Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends cartoon. Like,
They
that
gave him
wasn't
Wolverine hair, though. That's got to count for something.
Yeah, that does. I mean, and by the way, the Bishop in this particular version, even though he's got the Jerry curl mohawk, it actually looks kind of cool. I do like the bald version that we're going to get in the Age of Apocalypse, but it's you could see how people would think that he was a cool character, even though he still kind of sucks and he's always wrong about everything. If you've ever listened to this podcast, if you're on the side of Bishop, you're on the wrong side of history, bruh, because he will definitely choose the wrong side.
One of my friends named his kid Bishop.
Yeah, boy. Not after this Bishop, I hope.
After this Bishop.
Hopefully a chess player of some sort.
And they are Anglo-Saxon.
Oh,
Wow.
there's always one. All right, so and that's basically that part, and they get the drop outing. But before we can get to the conclusion of this particular book, we get this interlude here where Apocalypse is watching all of this go on in Israel. And essentially, like, you know what? This is what I anticipated. And before Sinister said it was going to happen, now we're going to get to, the survival of the fittest, the ascension of order, blah, blah, all of those types of things. And okay, I'm going to point this out here now and then point it out again when we get to the Alpha book.
Here we go.
Well, no, it's not. No, no, no. It's the design of Apocalypse is fine here. They completely f it up when they get to Age of Apocalypse. Like they should have just left it like this. Like this
Yeah.
version is the version that you would want to see. The next one is not very good. Like I don't understand.
I
Again,
did notice that. I did
yeah,
notice
like
that.
That
yeah. Go ahead.
if y'all see my name on here, not my name, but the name of this whatever.
Yeah.
And I always think of Apocalypse as Dennis Rodman.
Yeah. Yeah. I could totally see that too, And again, having not read the books too far up to this point in terms of what the order was, I'm not sure where Apocalypse was leading up to this.
I'm sorry, but Dennis Rodman is a multifaceted individual. Can you explain the Apocalypse to Dennis Rodman analogy for just the listeners? I understand, obviously, but the listeners.
But yeah, just that for some reason, when I think of Apocalypse and all his machinations and all his craziness and whatever, I think of Dennis Rodman. I always every time I look at him,
or
what's that?
Yeah.
He's
it's just
cleaning
the way he
boards,
acts, the way he does all his facial things, and
Yeah.
he thinks he's really good. He's really good at one thing, really. But I don't know. That's I always got Dennis Rodman and Apocalypse put together.
Okay.
Dennis Rodman had bitches. Apocalypse ain't got no bitches.
Apocalypse he been around for thousands of years. He got to have a couple.
Yeah.
He just rolls with his crew. He does.
Right. And he makes crew, and they're sorry as hell, but usually.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It just was. I mean, again, we know what the name of the miniseries is that's coming after this. So this little, jump in. It's like, oh, okay, let's give him, his due about what's about to happen. But they really mess up the design when they get to Age of Apocalypse. It's completely. They really messed that up. All right.
Well, he got some
Moving
money, and so he got some work done. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Once you start getting
He's
those
like-
fillers, I mean, it's just
Yeah.
it's all up.
His first thing I'm gonna do is get on Ozempic. All right, so it really comes to the conclusion that we knew that was going to happen. Finally, after Legion breaks free of Iceman. After he breaks free of Iceman's, whatever he tried to do to him, he gets to jump back on Magneto. He's going to kill him. Essentially, they do the baby Hitler situation. It's like, Magneto's like, I haven't even done anything yet, and you're going to kill me for that? And he's like, yeah, And then his daddy issues come up. He's like, you know what? He could have paid more attention to me, if he wasn't always, fooling with you. Let me tell you something, Legion. That wasn't gonna happen.
Your daddy's a dick.
Yeah. Hey, Legion, have you met your father? Because he's a terrible person, and whether Magneto was around or not, he would have chosen to hang out with Magneto without you.
He's a better wingman,
right? Instead of you, like it's like, come on, man, your father.
Who you gonna get with that hairstyle outside of Kid and Play?
Kid and Play, yeah, they really played that up, but. So yeah, he gets the drop on Magneto when he goes to give him the coup de grace, as Bugs Bunny would say. Xavier sacrifices himself, and by sacrificing himself, he dies. And then now, if I'm dead, that means if Xavier's dead, that means I never existed. And he gets zapped out, and X-Men gets zapped out. And the freaking the Star Wars Darth Vader no situation. And everybody goes except for Bishop because he's already time displaced. That allows him to stay in place for whatever happens. And then the crystal wave crystallizes everybody, and that world is
that
essentially
we've
gone.
read 2 books on by now. They missed a real opportunity to have Psylocke on the side, like, see, David has focused his psychic energy into a psychic knife. It is the
Oh
totality of
Lord.
his psychic powers. Because he doesn't call it out. He
No, he
has a
doesn't.
psychic
Or
knife. He doesn't
him or
call
the
it out. I had
Watchers.
no,
One of
I
them
had
two
no
could have
idea
done
what was
that.
happening.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Good point. So yeah, so and then Magneto holds Xavier in his arms like his real boo, and he's like, essentially, you're such a good man, and I'm terribly sorry that this particular
That
thing
my
happened.
son that
Yeah,
don't exist killed you.
exactly. So I mean, again, I feel like I feel like I'm shitting on it, but like I mentioned this before, at the time they were already pronouncing that Xavier was going to die, like in the books before this even came out. So you knew it was going to happen. You didn't necessarily know how, but you knew he was going to die. So the shocking conclusion, whatever you want to think about that, really wasn't happening. It was just like kind of waiting for this to happen. So it wasn't like this big deal, even back then, because everybody already knew. So, you had to get us to this point, but there was just no suspense to it. Basically, it's like, oh, well, I know this is going to happen, so that's pretty much it. All right. So Legion Quest Part 4, overall as a series, I don't think it was terrible. There's definitely been worse X-Men miniseries, Brother Beavis. Is it
Yeah.
like you remember?
Yeah, I mean, if you had told me it was like a 1 issue like setup, I would have probably believed you.
Mm.
Like when you reminded me it's 4 parts, I'm like, okay, but I think they did like I think the bad crossovers are where it's like three episodes of mystery and then they just explain everything at the end. Those are the
Right.
bad ones. So this wasn't,
No.
I think, not that bad. So
Yeah. Well, and it didn't make it 6, Hutch, which would have been like worse.
Yes, not
Yeah.
the 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was I
Mhm.
30 years later.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
GHT for those who are spelling at home. So yeah, so that's it. Now we get to this thing that is the Age of Apocalypse. But before we do that, let's talk about addictions, y'all. Now, before I get a weird copy strike on my YouTube page, but for
and you
talking about
will.
this, I'm not talking about addictions with like people with drugs or alcohol or anything like that. And I'm
Gambling.
certainly not gambling. I'm not certainly making fun of anybody that has those particular faults and addictions. I'm not.
Seek help.
Yes. Got a gambling problem? Call 1-800 blah, 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 blah. Okay. But there are geek addictions and nerd addictions. So I'm wondering, outside of comic books, because as we've told on this podcast 1,000 times 1,000, this Age of Apocalypse Alpha book is where I got back on the pipe. I was off for the longest time, and I was thinking about this as I was doing something yesterday, and I was like, I probably was off since whenever Sandman went to the Air Force. That's when I was off, because the only way to get to the comic book store at that particular time was for Sandman to pick me up to go down to, would have been Dragon's Lair essentially at the time. That was the only way it was going to happen. So once that went away, there was no comic booking at that point. So I would say I was out. I think Sandman went in probably in '88. So I was out completely. So Brother Beavis buys me this X-Men thing for essentially for Christmas of '94, and I'm fully back in at that point. Like as soon as I get back to Florida after the holiday, comic book store every Wednesday, pool box, upwards of probably 15, 20 books a month, like right back on the pipe. So besides comics, did you have any other kind of nerdly addictions that you're willing to confess on here? That
Nerdly, sure.
well, first off, I know both of y'all, so don't make me call you out. But also, for nerdly addictions, nothing else. Like, did you have any other nerdly addictions? Like, man, you know what? I spent a lot of time, effort, and most importantly, money on this particular thing outside of comic books. Who wants to go first?
I can give you several examples, and I will defy the rules and start with the actual comic book addiction. So I know, like after this, My pull box was getting huge, and the books were getting worse and worse. And thankfully, I got help from a great man named Frank Quitely, who got me off of books altogether. Like he showed me just how bad they could be, and I had to go cold turkey. And so Frank, shout out,
Shout
you and
out.
Grant Morrison really helped
Oh,
me
oh,
get a
oh, oh.
monkey off of my back. I appreciate that. So I would say like I've probably said these words on here. I will self admit I'm 12 steps away from kicking a crippling Lego addiction. However, them shits have gotten expensive. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
licensing or greed
Yeah.
or the cost of manufacturing, but like that not only have they got expensive, like they're now exclusively targeting like the collector audience.
The
There's a
rich.
new $1,000 Death Star coming out.
Mm.
That's like less than the $600 Death Star. That's like less to it than the $600 Death Star that came out like 10 years ago. So
Mm.
there's that. I will say like once they had those retro Marvel figures that were coming out, I was buying
Mhm.
those, and I was like that became like a gotta catch 'em all situation. And there was like I was like looking at variants on like, oh, I don't have the variant packaging in Black Panther. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Stop it. You a grown ass man. You do not need to be looking at these toys. And then the other one is the Paizo has got me. This might be
uh,
Paizo probably got Hutch big too. So
uh,
Paizo is the company that figured out how to not just sell D&D stuff to dungeon masters, but they found a way to strip mine the players, and they definitely got me. So
Wow. Okay.
that's a great segue into my situation. Well,
Uh,
first, I think let's go to comic books. Marvel broke me after fucking that Secret Wars 2.
I can see that.
Yes, so that was about it for me for Marvel. And
yeah.
then I went to the Kemper or the school, and I started reading DC books, and kind of was into that a little bit. But I started buying those trade paperbacks and not the single stuff.
Mm.
But after that, I was kind of cold turkey. Um, but as far as my new addiction, my whatever is, yes, Paizo and D&D Beyond and that kind of stuff. And Etsy, I have
Yep.
been buying. I have been buying figurines and rebuilding up my Dungeons and Dragons stuff that I
Are
got rid of in the 90s.
Are you in the hook where you buy the book and then you have to buy the content on the tabletop platform that you just bought? Have you fallen for that yet?
Hook, line, and sinker.
Yep. Yep. They're getting you like twice from 3 different companies now. Like,
Right.
you want that monster manual too? All right.
Yeah.
Here's the book, here's the PDF, and here's the
Yes.
digital download for your tabletop role playing platform.
$99, please.
Wow. Yeah. I think people misinterpret like a little bit of that, like how easy it is to get pulled into addictions, like for essentially for your habits or your hobbies, whichever one of those is pretty much the same thing, because you wind up spending so much time, money, and effort on those particular things. Like as soon as I got off the comic book, like, or as soon as I got back on the train, like it was, people that have real addictions of other things, they'll talk to you about how, like, oh yeah, I was cold turkey for whatever, however long, but then in like 48 hours, I was right back to, like, once I fell off the wagon, I was right back to where I was, like, in my worst point, and like the quickness. And this is how it was for comic books for me. Completely done, and then within a month, completely back on, collecting the books, driving like all over every freaking comic book store I could find in Fort Lauderdale at the time. That's essentially how I spent my Saturdays, trying to find books, like all day. And so, yeah, it's tough. I've been probably able to escape the 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 more recent addictions, like of things that are there outside of, and it's probably stopped a little while ago too. And Hutch could probably confess a little bit to this. Like, I had a pretty strong DVD addiction there for a while. Like, I would buy, like, oh, I want that season for this, season for that. I want the whole season for this. I'm like, oh, what, Chuck? What? Oh, I wanted all those DVDs, and that
That's
was
a smart
streaming.
move now, though.
It is
Yeah,
a smart move.
I guess, but which just that's side brother topic too. Like with streaming, I am not pulling out no DVD player at all, man. Like I mean, if the power went out or the internet was down, yeah, maybe. But beyond that, like streaming is amazing. Like I'm completely addicted to the streaming part of this aspect now. Like the fact of working and pulling out a DVD player and trying to find how you can skip the damn
Sure.
stuff at the beginning, man. I
Yeah,
just want
yeah,
to
that
I
part.
want to put a
But
baseball bat to that thing.
your PlayStation, or if you have a PlayStation, is your DVD player now.
Mm,
If you have the one that can
yeah,
play
that's
DVD or
fair.
CDs.
So okay.
But
Yeah,
that was one of my problems too. I used to be that person. Used to be that would sit at Blockbuster or wait for it sale on
yeah,
Amazon or something to get them a whole series or something.
yeah. That's for sure. That was definitely me for a long time. Probably even up through probably phase one, phase two of like the MCU. Like I mean, I was getting everything. So okay. All right. Well, thank y'all for your confessions. We have donuts and coffee in the back. You can sit
This
around
isn't
and
going on
chatter.
YouTube, right?
Sit
I
around and
got my
chatter.
coin.
Because if
Yeah.
it is, you have to tell me. Otherwise, it's entrapment.
Exactly. All right, y'all. Here we go. All right, another YouTube clip. So before we get into the Age of Apocalypse, uh, X-Men has been haunting the people of this particular podcast for a very long time. Honestly, there have been, I would say, haunting images of this particular thing. And the reason I'm using Age of Apocalypse for that is if you did watch Wolverine and the X-Men, uh, on Nickelodeon back in whenever that was. That had to be in the early 2000s, not even made the double digit 2000s. Is that it ended season one and it only gets one season with a tease of the Age of Apocalypse. I mean, literally with the characters in costume, you get a chance to see Cyclops and Sinister and Apocalypse. They were going to do an Age of Apocalypse storyline on Wolverine and the X-Men. It doesn't get renewed, and so this image, literally the final image of the show, is the Age of Apocalypse that they never wind up getting to. Going back to Pride of the X-Men, X-Men standing on the Earth, Pride of the X-Men. Every once and then, and I have it on DVD, of course. Every once and then I'll watch it just because it's so freaking cool. Like it's still, I mean, even though it's a little bit corny, it's still really cool. X-Men standing on the Earth, we never get that. And then I would say, if we're going to be ranking these, which I'm going to ask you to, which one haunted you the most? That X-Men, the two with the Phoenix effect in the water.
Oh,
I'm telling this story right now, and I have goosebumps. That movie came out in 2003. I was so hyped leaving that movie theater, thinking about what we were going to get after that. I mean, that image haunts me. Sometimes I can't even watch X2 because I know what actually comes after and what they actually gave us because I'm so hyped about it. So, throwing it to y'all, which one of these haunts y'all the most? Like, which one are you most disappointed that I mean, again, we did get Phoenix in an X-Men movie, but it sucked ass. Which
Super
one
only gets
bothers
worse.
you the most? Which one bothers you the most? Brother Beavis?
I think the Wolverine and the X-Men finale, because I kind of hated that show when it first came out, because to me it was like a continuation of X-Men Last Stand,
Mm,
which is the poor payoff for the
the
Phoenix.
Phoenix thing, too.
And
Yeah.
it did feel like we were going to get Age of Apocalypse, which we really hadn't and still haven't gotten. They did sort of a bootleg version on the animated series
Yeah.
that was the problem with when they tried to pull off the later stories, they had the continuity so jumbled because of character selection. They
Yeah.
couldn't do a lot of it. And I came to like that Wolverine story, the Wolverine the X-Men cartoon, but to me it was like, oh yeah, your savage loner who happens to sell more comic books is now the leader and everything's about him. Like that was not the X-Men story I wanted to read.
Yeah.
Like with Pride of the X-Men, it was mostly upsetting because I had just missed the cartoon, which I can now see. I guess I guess you can think about like that was probably the preamble to us actually getting X-Men the animated series. So between
Yeah.
the arcade game and everything that came, I think that did get paid off. But it was mostly because I just missed like one of, I think at that time maybe 3 X-Men cartoons you could see in the world.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. any of these haunt you the most?
I'm not sure haunting is the right word.
Okay.
But I mean, the Pride of the X-Men, if that would have been a series that came out every week, like it hopefully would. I mean, instead of that one shot, I mean, who knows what would have happened? That's a Legion taking over the world type of series in real life for us.
Yeah. Again, you got to be a certain age, which means you had to have been a certain age when this came on, okay? Because what happened is that if you were geared up to watch Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, and the again 25 episodes that it had, even though it ran for 1,000 years, and you were like, oh, okay, here comes Spider-Man and Amazing Friends, and this just popped up. Again,
Yeah.
this is no internet, there was no preview that you knew that this was coming at all, and it was like, what's this? And the animation was so much better. It's the X-Men. I mean, they got even brown suit Wolverine in there. Like, I mean, we was hyped.
And
Like,
Colossus in front.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Good Lord. Yes, this is the throwing shit out of the way kind of situation, and yeah, that was a moment for sure. But like I said, go ahead.
It's funny, like now you can watch anything all the time. Back then, you couldn't watch what you were lucky if you got to watch what was supposed to be scheduled at that time. Like,
Yes, exactly.
just random stuff would come on sometimes. Like, oh,
And this
how
was
was I
random,
supposed
I
to? Yeah,
think.
yeah.
Oh, this was super
we
random.
didn't tape this, right? We didn't get a
No.
tape of this, right?
Oh, of course not. No. I mean, again, I think at this point it's become urban legend, and this group chat is it comes on, and I don't know if it was the first time or if it was a repeat thing, and Brother Beavis hadn't seen it, and hello kids, fellow kids, I used the telephone, a landline, to call this man on the phone, like, yo, you missed the X-Men, it's on, oh my God. And then, Brother Beavis comes out and he literally sees the final scene of him standing on the earth. Like that's it. Like he doesn't get a chance to actually see it. It's the only part that he got a chance to see. Like this is, I mean, it's urban legend at this point.
Yeah.
So this
was this a right pat test on us or something?
what? No,
See if we can mobilize the nerd populace. Can we activate the sleeper cell?
Yeah, it's like a NORAD or something on us.
NORAD,
right past an Air Force base.
flashing up words like Winter Soldier on
Halloween
the show.
3 season of the witch. They all get up and march out to their comic book store.
Yeah, what the?
We have activated the team.
Yeah,
Wolverines.
Yeah, and again, I know this will be the last part. We'll jump back into the book. Like this is literally something that children, kids, or whatever miss now about not knowing something that's going to happen immediately, or at least even suspect it. Like you just get there's no surprises hardly anymore. I mean, it can happen, but everything leaks essentially beforehand, or at least there's an inkling of it. Like this was out of nowhere, and then it never came back. Like because I imagine Hush, me and you, the next Saturday.
We
was definitely waiting for that shit to come on.
We watched every horrible thing that came on that Fox on there.
I am not moving.
They might show it at any time. We are
right. And who we're going to talk to, or who we're going to call Fox, or call what we're going to do.
Yeah, I mean that's literal DEFCON
Mandela effect. Something.
Yeah, exactly. We were like, right, this shit might come on, and then again, in the random times that it did, because it did come on just randomly. Whatever you're looking for, Spider-Man and Amazing Friends, and this shit would just pop on, and it was like, oh well, I'm gonna watch this again. You might have got a chance to VCR, but you probably didn't. And so, yeah, I mean, definitely one of the first purchases I made as a real tax-paying adult was that VHS, which I still have. I have it on VHS.
It's probably worth a lot of money if it ain't.
Probably have a tape with no player somewhere. Right?
Yeah, well, yeah, find a VHS. No, the literal one, like out of the box store VHS.
No, I know what you're saying.
Yeah. So, all right. Yeah, that Phoenix though, man,
that is true.
I would have run a whole ass marathon coming out of that movie theater. I can't even, as hype as I was after Endgame and Infinity War, I don't even, it's close. It ain't third. You see what I'm saying? Like I was ready,
I,
man.
re- I remember when the Batman, the Dark Knight, I was like, I didn't want to leave the movie theater after that. At the end of
Mhm.
that one,
Yeah,
Uh,
I
but
was,
this one, I mean, yeah,
yeah.
I remember that scene, and yeah, I think I was hyped too. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's in my top 5 of hype.
No, X2 had me. The end of it, man. Whatever. All right, here we go. Let's get into this damn book. Maybe. All right, here we go. So X-Men Prime is supposed to be Alpha. It's the creative team. Scott Lobdell is the story, but again, this is the other thing with Lobdell. He was on an apprenticeship program or something because like Mark Waid is still doing the dialogue for these particular books. Roger Cruz is on pencils doing his essentially great value Joey
Yeah,
Madura and
he
Tim
leveled
Townsend.
up
I
for
think.
some of this.
Yeah. So we get this team of X-Men, and we'll talk about it at the end too. But once this is the premiere book for this particular mini series, and it does an alpha and an omega, and then in between those, like I think there were 4 total books. There was like an X-Men book, like Gambit and the Eternals, of course, a Wolverine book, and I can't remember an X-Man book,
There
which
were
was
2
based on
X-Men
comics.
books,
Was there? Okay. Yeah, it's hard for me to remember
and there
like
was an
all
X
together.
Factor book too.
Does there? Okay, yeah. So there was books that were going on. As we get through this thing, we're pretty much going to stay in the X-Men book, the Prime book, because that's where the primary story is particularly told. But we'll get to that too. So this is the cover, y'all. The wraparound that Brother Beavis bought
Got
me.
him.
Bring me, yeah, exactly. Like a Pokemon, got me right back into the game, man. Like I was hook, line, and sinker. Still got that, obviously, in a long box here somewhere in this particular house. So yeah, we were good at the start here. All right. So this world that is essentially, I think they said 20 years after.
Yeah.
Yeah, 20 years after the death of Xavier, there's been this the ascension of order essentially that Apocalypse was talking about. Mutants, you don't really know, and this book essentially is establishing a world of where mutants on particular sides. You don't really know. Eunice is leading essentially a group of people to hunt down humans and cull them and kill them. And Bishop, being this time, place, the person that remembers what the world is supposed to be like, gets pulled into this conflict with a random human girl that runs into him, and he gets attacked, and that's basically how it starts off this whole bit. It. I'm gonna keep saying this through this. This was something that I read that I didn't, as much as I talked about this book and the history of us. I don't. I didn't remember it, but at the end of it, I was like, oh, this was actually pretty good. Like it was much better than I think I would have remembered it. Maybe it's because we're constantly, pooping on things. But I kind of remember this a little bit better. What do you think at the initial part, Brother Beaver?
First thing I was like, when has a story about the black man and the little white girl ever gone wrong? Like Bishop better keep receipts, or else they're gonna throw this whole thing at his feet.
Yeah.
First thing
Uh,
I thought.
Shannon
And then
Sharp, anybody? Oh,
I was like, Eunice, no, don't Eunice. Why are
Yeah.
we yeah, so
Yeah.
no, I mean, I think I remember more of the imagery and the factions more so than any particular aspect of the story. But this is like Days of Future Past 101, climbing over skulls and the enforcers show up and there's, the samurai-esque warrior saving the peeps. I mean,
Yeah.
this is the story. What is it? A tale as old as time.
Yeah. And then when we do get to the particular team, when the X-Men come in and save Bishop, make that hot tag, that we get a chance to see this version of the X-Men, led by Magneto, and I think this is a solid lineup. You
Mm-hmm.
got Sabretooth and Wild Child, Rogue. Now Morph comes back in, and then this version of Morph is the version of Morph that we're going to get in X-Men 97, 30 years later or
Yeah.
whatever that this is too, and obviously the character became so popular because of the cartoon. They were like, hey, we killed him, but we can bring him back in these comic books. Iceman, Nightcrawler, and again, they're all kind of modified versions of their own particular characters. maybe some of them being, baby faces instead of heels, but essentially they're all the same version of their character, with one exception, which we will point out when we go over this book. If anybody got a push out of this whole thing, it's Quicksilver. Quicksilver in Age of Apocalypse is a fully whole manifested person without all the daddy issues, and he's probably one of the strongest characters in the entire series, and not the whiny bitch boy that he is in every comic book ever made.
It's the reverse Legion effect. So he did get his daddy's love from his terrible daddy, and it did work out. Legion was right. All he needed was love from his bad dad, and it would have been fine.
Yeah, it's fine. What about the character designs, Hutch? Anything different there? Dislike?
If you remember this series, right, for the factions and the the 2 degrees of separation from the quote unquote the real life characters. Yeah.
And I will say the inclusion of Wild Child was always interesting to me. I can't remember if he had made it into X Factor by this point or if he was upcoming, but I mean that's an Alpha Flight, or I guess Omega Flight.
He was one of them. He was a bad guy in the original Alpha Flights.
Right. Well, they make the hot tag. Bishop sees Magneto and he remembers, like, hey, you caused everything or whatever, and then he lunges at him. They stop him. He Magneto gives him the GTS to go to sleep. He's like, "You murderer, you killer, you did all these things." Like, yeah, we're not dealing with this right now. And it's implied that Magneto kind of remembers him too, but when we get to the latter part of this book, he's like, "Well, maybe he did, or maybe he didn't."
Black folks will be black folks.
Yeah, well, I mean. Again, bald-headed version of Bishop, much better than the Jerry Carroll, mullet version.
I think I like Jerry Carroll Jenkins.
Well, again, but you see that Magneto is a completely changed person in this universe based on the death of Xavier. Like, this completely changed him. He's got his dream was this or whatever. But also, like, his dream was this. Look at the world. It's completely fucked. So,
right.
Like, it is completely messed up. So,
anything Magneto touches turns to shit.
Yeah, whatever you did in them 20 years, it did not work. So maybe you should try something else. Did you turn it off and on? Because this is completely messed up.
Yeah, we're gonna find out how he spent his last 20 years.
Yeah. Well, we're getting there.
And boy, oh boy, here comes this mother blanker. Where's the alcohol?
Yeah, and it is the Lord of the Rings situation here where we're building a world, but the Lord of the Rings at the beginning, like opposite here thing. We're like, all right, where is everybody? All right, so let's look in on the original X-Men. So Beast, this Dark Beast here, he's experimenting on, mutants. We get a chance to see, the Blob, it was Fred Dukes. And Havoc is there. He's a part of this bad version of team that's kind of aligned with Sinister, who's still doing his genetic testing or whatever, but he's doing genetic testing for a reason, which he's always done it for a reason.
Always doing it for a reason.
Got another reason, in this particular world. Cyclops' daddy issues are multiversal, y'all.
Right.
It
Get a haircut, hippie.
Yeah, I mean, it crosses over into this whole new alternate universe, and we could do it later, but Dark Beast is one of the worst characters ever invented in the X-Men.
Yeah,
go ahead, brother Beavis. I know we're in the same brain on this one. Dark Beast is awful.
Yeah, and interestingly, like if you read the Krakoa era stuff, like he basically they made that turn and they've had to reset him again. They had some genetic clone reset. So there's a Beast. The Beast in the mainstream line now is from essentially the Avengers era when he was rolling around with Wonder Man. Yeah. Because Beast broke bad again. So I mean, I guess you can kind of get there, like you can draw the line, but he definitely was not the best. The things they chose to pull from this too, I had issues with. But there's a worse character coming. There is an absolutely
worse than Sinister.
Worse than Sinister, worse than Dark Beast.
I don't like Sinister in any. I hate Mr. Sinister with a P in passion, and I don't give a damn if he's in the future, past, present.
But
Yeah,
you are
well,
right. Cyclops is ready to like just buy into some dude's vision, just
yeah,
no questions asked at any.
yeah.
He's just on
Father?
standby
What?
to be a follower.
Yes, exactly. And this is not a good look for him in
He,
that
he
regard.
he has been working out though. He
Yeah,
got
that's
he got better
fine.
than typical strength.
What? Okay, he's beating up cops. All right. So so we get that, and we have the whatever the sibling stuff between Alex and
Yeah.
and Scott as well.
Happy
But
could get an ass whooping too, and I wouldn't mind either.
Yeah. If you
well,
thought Cyclops was a bitch, wait till you meet his brother.
Yeah,
yeah,
Havoc
exactly.
is a
Well,
is
and well,
a no trick pony
and also
who
too.
falls for green haired broads.
mm,
We've all been there.
yes, exactly. Side brother topic. If some lady shows up as less dressed up as Lorna Dane at Dragon Con here in a couple of days, we're stopping for a second because yeah, we're gonna stop for a second because that needs to be documented. All right. So
Ain't she like she's almost like the Scarlet Witch now in green, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
yeah, pretty much. All right. So Sinister has plans, y'all. I mean, this is anything that we wouldn't know. However this goes, and we'll get to it here momentarily. He's got plans, and he's setting his plans into motion. He talks to his, surrogate son, Cyclops, who's like, "Father, are you leaving? Daddy, are you coming home?" Yeah, and it's not a good look for Cyclops or whatever. But essentially, he has plans. Cyclops feels he's being abandoned by his father again, multiversal, and he goes off. And we'll talk about Sinister here momentarily, but you have to understand that we're going to go from "Would you kill baby Hitler" in one universe to essentially a Jesus allegory when we get here. Okay, so like just prepare yourself for that. Like if you haven't read these books, like this is what we're gonna do. Like this, and the way to end the whole thing, is somebody's coming that's going to be born that is going to save the world from itself essentially. All right, let's jump in. Maybe if it goes. Come on. All right. Oh yeah, so Angel's the power broker. If we're looking at on the original X-Men, he's kind of working with the human resistance, but he's not really. But he's working there. He's organizing meetings. Gambit needs to go meet with Magneto. We'll find out later that Magneto actually wants him to go there. And the other X-Men, Jean, is off with Wolverine. I jumped ahead in this. Wolverine is off with Jean and some other thing. He's missing his one of his hands, and Cyclops is missing an eye.
Yeah,
we'll get to that later too. And it's everybody's
Colossus
got
the
some version
pirate.
of this.
Oh,
Well, wait, is that in this? No.
no,
Yes. No.
well,
He's
Is this
he's
where
kind of
Cyclops is a pirate?
piratey
Or
as
is
a
Colossus a
do-rag.
pirate?
He's do rag, whatever
Okay.
that mess was.
Do-rag does not make you a pilot. He's a
Uh,
gym
yeah.
bro. He's a gym bro. He's a 90s gym bro.
he was
It's
awful.
a 90s jet, bro. Yes, and Zubaz and a bandana. So yeah, that's basically it. And again, Angel sucks in all his multiversal as well.
I
And he's involved in this. Go ahead.
I don't remember them paying off his story, but I like this design. I like this role. This makes sense for Warren, who's kind of a prick to like prey on society and try and make money off of it. I don't know why the
Mhm.
Scarlet Witches or Karma is in his plot line, but this to me feels and felt underserved. I think this part of the story had potential, but I don't know.
Right. Yeah. You can only do so much and got so
Yeah.
much time. Yeah.
They're like, he's a dude with wings. What do you expect? Like, we
Yeah.
can't do a whole.
He's rich.
Yeah. Look, man,
I
we're
think
doing the best we can. He sucks.
Spoiler alert, I think he makes a noble sacrifice at that point. Beyond that, I don't remember him doing pretty much anything.
I don't even remember that part. Okay. All right. Hold on. All right. You know what? Hold on. We're going to take a pause because I have to go to the bathroom. I'm going to stop recording. All right. Everybody take a pause. All right. And we're back. So I talked about this when we saw Apocalypse in the interlude in X-Men 41. We see him and his Four Horsemen, or well, 3/4 of his horsemen, because Mikhail Rasputin is missing. He's not there. We don't know where he is. It'll come up later. But I talked about this about the design for Apocalypse here in the Age of
Onslaught the
Apocalypse.
first.
This is bad, y'all. Like this is, I don't know how this got through customs because this is just a terrible design, especially because there's really nothing wrong with the original design. And if this is the same world just 20 years later, why is he updating? Like, what are we doing here? Like, what would be the
He took
point
his
of this?
Iron Man. He took his Tony Stark pill or an Onslaught.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
mean, I think you should look at this as he's the hero. He, in his mind, he's the hero of his own story. So, hence,
Yeah.
we get a more super heroic version.
Mhm.
Then I would like to ask several questions. Number one, where is this forearm machine that
Yeah.
people are just crushing? Number two, how many fingers is Apocalypse holding up?
Yeah.
Is this like AI Apocalypse before we
Yeah.
had AI, just to show the futuristic nature of the story? Number three, we get it, bro. You wax. You didn't have to leave the 2 open gaps there so we could
Yeah.
see you're clean. It's
Yeah.
cool.
Damn. and he, I mean, he doesn't need he makes his own molecule. He makes his own outfits.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, who's he getting his inspiration from?
Yeah, and why a cape? But
Yeah.
why did
Right.
Apocalypse ever need a cape? Like,
Yeah,
are you
just
saying
because
he's the
Sinister
hero?
has a cape, you don't have to have a cape. His is still better than yours.
Yeah, it's just I was
But-
like, well, it was so striking because it was like there, it's like, well, that's traditional Apocalypse, you know. He's better. He's really better in the shadows, you know, where you don't get a chance to fully see him, and then the chance you do to give him to fully put him out there, you got him here looking like that. Like I'm like, ooh, not good.
I mean, he is. That's a MAGA hairdo.
Yeah,
I like.
yeah.
He's also like, look at him. He's got like everything metallic. Like his boots are still like, still puts his boots on one leg at a time with his fabric ass boots. Like what
Yeah,
is happening here?
There must have been a sale on that color blue or something
Yeah,
too.
he's clearly missed leg day as well. Because
Well,
I mean,
his
you know,
forearm. I mean, like I said, he is super jacked in the torso.
Yeah, it's. I think the shoulder pads he's compensating. I think he's got weak shoulders because he did too much of wrist day.
Yeah,
forearm day. So
right, and
he's double pecked
his
up.
fingers are the size of most people's forearms.
Yeah. He's quadruple pecked up as well. So yeah, it's not a good look. But anyway, yeah, he is, you know, he's okay with this. You know, they divided the United States essentially, or really the world, into these 4 different quadrants for for the horsemen to you know, rule over each one. You know, our horsemen at this time, Sinister, Holocaust, awful, Abyss, worse. You know, and I think Dark Beast, does he become the 4th one after Mikhail turns babyface? Because I think that's what happens too. I think Dark Beast becomes the 4th.
Well, there's another worse character yet to be revealed.
Yeah,
so maybe that's him. I can't remember.
It's awful. Yeah, it's not a good group of horsemen because they're just not, you know, and then Sinister leaving it makes it even worse because, and again, moving it forward, I think Holocaust and Abyss actually wind up making it into the mainstream Marvel universe. I believe Holocaust for sure does.
I don't remember if Abyss made a jump, it would have been later, but because I could not have told you the first thing about him before rereading this. But what I can tell you today is he got Nasitol.
No acetol, right? That's awful.
Look at that long back on it.
He's got a super long back. Yeah. Yeah. Sinister ain't birthing no children either with them hips. All right. Anyway, moving forward. All right. So.
We
gotta go back. All right. So, and using the Four Horsemen reference here, it's obviously for you too. What version of the Horsemen is your favorite? Like, because there was an article. There's been 15 different versions, and I was like, "You a 15-person lie," because I can remember like 7. You count the one in the red shirt? Let me start over. 1, 2, 3. Like I was like 15 different versions. Nah, son. So, what is your favorite version? I only listed 4, so we're eliminating when Sting was a freaking horseman because I would kick both of y'all in the face if one of y'all said that. And we're gonna take out Paul Roma version of the horseman as well.
Oh my
So I just
gosh.
listed essentially the OG version, the Luger version, the Wyndham version, and the Nitro essentially version with anything without Mongo, because anything with Mongo in it as a horseman is also worthy of a punch in the dick. So
Rest in peace.
yes, rest in peace, Mongo. All right. Well, the football player, not the wrestler. Anyway, all right. So, what's your favorite version, y'all? I'm gonna go take this first. I'm gonna go with, and this is gonna be probably maybe a little surprising. I'm gonna go with the version that wound up making it to the Hall of Fame for the WWE, and that's the Wyndham version. That's the Wyndham version. I think that version of the Horseman, in terms of people's ability to work, have matches, when you're tagged, you could do. I mean, you could really go no wrong putting that version of Barry Windham with anybody. He could tag with anybody. He could wrestle singles with anybody. He still really couldn't talk, but he didn't need to with that group. So that's what I'm going with: the Barry Windham, Arn, Rick, and Tully. All right, who's up?
You want to do your own version of Barry Brother Beavis?
No, I'm not. I'm not going to agree with the producer on this. I'm going to go off book, and this might be a surprise. I think I'm going to go with the original Horseman, and
Ooh.
and because all of them could talk, I think the Andersons are one of the least interesting and exciting teams to watch, but they were a force, and sort of everyone had their role. Like Flair was at the top. The Andersons owned the tag team, and then they would come in and hurt whoever was fucking with Flair. And Tully just started shit and fucked with Dusty. So I think that worked. I think the idea of Luger coming in was interesting because it shook him up and opened up a new sort of a new path of storylines, but that got us 15 versions of the Horseman.
Yeah.
And we've apologized to Luger on our various wrestling podcasts as he was nowhere near as bad as we would have claimed at that time.
No doubt.
But he fit almost like as bad as Sting did. Like he was there, like waiting to get kicked out. And I do agree with you. Barry Windham was, great from a wrestling contribution. But if you think about, like, what did we see back in the day? We saw promos. We saw very few matches because we weren't getting pay-per-views.
Right.
So Barry Windham didn't add anything, I think, at that point that the Horsemen needed. I'm going to go OG, Ole, Arn, Tully, and Flair.
Okay. Hutch, you going with
know
OG
me?
group
Yeah,
too?
I'm OG. If I knew this was coming, I would have worn my shirt.
Yeah, I mean, again, you can't go wrong with any of those two versions. To me, honestly, the Luger version, it did feel like, okay, let's freshen it up, give him a young dude or whatever, good looking, can definitely fill out the suit. But like again, he as a wrestler was not very good at that particular point, but not as bad as we remember him. And his ability to talk, kind of evolved over time as well. But like, yeah, any versions after this,
That's just chasing glory.
yeah,
Chasing
that's
former
it.
glory.
Yep, that is it. They were just spinning their wheels trying to find it again, and that was just a mistake. And it's so sad when you look at it.
It's the best. I mean, well, it's lasting. It has a legacy.
Yeah.
And that's one of the best things about wrestling all time.
Yeah, I mean,
you've been in it for 40 years.
Yeah, I mean, again, that version with Malenko and Chris Benoit is a good version, but two of them dudes couldn't talk. But but they could wrestle anybody. Like you could put
all
them out
day.
there, right? But neither one of them could talk like at all.
Right.
That's like, and one of the reasons that the Horsemen were so good is because the original version, all of them could talk. But even with Wyndham standing there as a freaking mute, they still had 3/4 of them that could talk and whatever, and he could essentially almost out wrestle all of them.
Oh, yeah, he was a great worker.
Right.
And,
so it was, yeah.
But at that time, Flair was Hogan's bitch, and Arn didn't really have anything to do.
Yeah. And then after Arn, has to go down and retire or whatever, then it just gets worse, like, oh, let's just start Jeff Jarrett. Like, what, really? That's what we're doing here? Yeah. 15 versions, Joe. I might send y'all that link and then you can throw up.
Don't do it.
I know. Fire. All right. Moving on into this comic book. All right. So Magneto learned appropriate relationships from the best of them, y'all. He did. Can we? Okay. Let me make sure I phrase this properly. If somebody listening to this, sometimes you was like, man, that podcast is woke. Um, they be talking about like whatever. Let me tell you something, man. Um, the idea of them sticking to this idea of this 60 some odd year old man having a relationship with this, as we have established, clearly intellectually disabled woman. Um, this is wrong, man. Like this is so wrong. Like, why are you sticking to this particular storyline? You had a chance to reset the whole universe to get away from this, and then they pushed it right back and like, hey, you know what? They were cool in the Savage Land or whatever. Hey, let's make it worse yet. Let's make them have a kid. Let's make it the fact that like that she can't even touch her child, and she's even more dependent upon him because she can't touch her child. That he made a promise to her that he was going to fix her powers so she could do it.
Yeah.
Like this is yo man. Like what are we doing? And this is what was this 95?
Yeah.
It's on par. It's on. I mean, that's on brand for the year. But man, oh man, with freaking 30-year later eyes, it looks awful, brother Davis.
Yeah, I guess,
She's what 17 maybe
Maybe,
yeah.
18 17 18.
maybe.
I think so in the modern context, she was something like 16 when she came into the story. And she hasn't, I mean, it's comic years, but she hasn't been on the team for more than a couple years. So if they're trying to say this now is then yeah, she's yeah.
This story get played downtown Atlanta every Saturday.
Understood this, but this mother blanket had survived the Holocaust. Okay,
Yeah.
like the Holocaust. And again, I know we're looking at it now, like, oh, you'd be 100 some odd years old. So take it back to 30 years of when this book was made. What
Yeah,
he's 70.
Yeah, the power dynamic is pretty awful. Like he's keeping her with a promise, and
Yeah.
he's holding not only their child but this promise of fixing her, and so
Yeah.
she's just like doting on him. And again, this is like Rogue has evolved to a great character. Like
Mhm.
particularly like you just watch X-Men 97 and you will see.
Yeah.
But like she is not there yet.
No.
She's
Yeah.
absolutely not there yet.
He's also manipulated her powers to the point where she's the team's side now because of Jean had already left to go wherever she had gone. Man.
I mean, Magneto is a Mac.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, when I was reading this and I was thinking about it before we started recording, I was like, you know what? He's a good guy, a babyface, but he's still true to like the character of Magneto. That he's still kind of not a good person. Like he's trying to follow the
he's
path.
on his own. He's on his own path.
Yeah,
and and you can't tell him shit.
Right, and it's kind of a Krakoa kind of situation. It was like, yeah, we're gonna make Charles' dream happen, but just my way.
Yeah,
right.
You know what I mean? Like it's gonna happen. Like don't get me wrong. Like the principle of the whole thing is fine, but how we're gonna get to point B is definitely going to be how I would do it. And this is basically where it is. And so when he does manipulates Rogue's powers to, look into Bishop's mind or whatever, he sees all this stuff from his past, including his continued inappropriate relationship with this 16-year-old girl. And, nobody believes it. Like Rogue saw it too. They have this conversation like, I don't believe it. It was all lies. And he's kind of like, well, maybe it's not. I don't really know like how those images popped into his particular head, but yeah,
you gonna believe me or them bullshit images.
Images.
I saw you beefing with the X-Men. Hey, that wasn't me.
That wasn't me.
Yeah,
wasn't me. He's a Mac.
Shaggy Magneto. Like, I mean, that's basically it. Like, I just, man, I don't want to. I think as us, as we, as whatever people, as age that we are, I think that we fully recognize that things that were made when we were kids are inappropriate. Let alone the fact that with the
periods of their time.
Yeah, like they are definitely periods of their time, and I totally would understand. Like
Porky.
Right. Well, and then it wasn't I got into it or whatever. Like I think it was a while ago. It was on one of these social media platforms or whatever, and I was talking about like I think it was Breakfast Club or one of those John Hughesy movies, and I don't know if I was like not necessarily praising the movie, but like maybe it came out 40 years ago or blah 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 blah, and the lady on there was like, yeah, that movie's kind of rapey, and I was like, what? And then if you think about it, the end scene with Anthony Michael Hall with the girlfriend of the dude, I'm like, yeah.
All the movies most
They,
of the movies that we watched back in the
yeah,
70s and
they're
80s
super rapey.
were not good for relationships. Yeah.
Yeah,
16 Candles. Hey,
yeah,
I got this girl's underwear.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I was like. That's what I'm like. So I see this book and made in 1995. And again, what the hell do we know about power dynamics and all that kind of stuff in 1995? Like nothing. Like, and most people still don't. But when you look at it from a different perspective, it's just like, man, that is. And then the fact that you continually push it, like you could have been like, hey, this was inappropriate at this particular time.
They
And
didn't
then
know no better either.
yeah, it's like but it's like Slave Leia. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't reference her that as anymore, but you understand why it was there, but you kind of like put it in a different context. They don't put this like they just repeated this in X-Men 97 with no context essentially either.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like they put it back out there because I guess somebody is tied up with this relationship with Rogue.
Look,
and
the people who draw comic books and the people who read comic books are usually, I mean, they kind of struggle with the opposite sex.
Yeah, that's that.
Let's keep it 1,000.
No, I
and wrestling fans too.
Well, that's even worse now, especially. So,
right.
All right. I'm just saying, it's just He learned from the best though, because Charles, class Omega level of inappropriate relationships. All right. So the MCon Crystal, y'all, we thought that was like, oh, that was the end, and we got this universe over here. No, that's multiversal too, y'all. So the MCon Crystal is out of whack here too, based on what happened, and it's now coming for this particular Earth that they are on right now, which is the same Earth, which is kind of weird because shouldn't it have wiped out all of that?
Looking too far, looking into it too deep.
Because comics. So he leaves the Sinister, pulls a Wyndham and leaves the Horsemen. And Apocalypse starts to put his full, ascension of the Order plan into motion. And like I said, the crystal is on its way to destroy this version of Earth. That
Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Alpha. All right. So what do y'all think about the Alpha version here? Like I said, I really enjoyed this. I didn't intend to or expect to, but I actually enjoyed that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it sets up a lot. I think it's, the dynamic changes from where we've been. Because, I mean, we're coming off an era where, like, you rarely even change costumes. Like, or if you did, it was of note. Like, Storm's extreme transformation.
Black costume, Spider-Man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so, like, that was almost a thing now, and to take this and just turn everything upside down. Turn heels into baby faces into heels. I think it's an exciting start. Does it rise to the heights? We will see.
Yeah, we will definitely see. And like I said, we will kind of pick and choose and jump around our way to get to the Omega book, which is the end, because there are several limited series that are running through this whole time. But I believe in the primary X-Men book, that is the main storyline that'll get you to Omega.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, we'll jump on to we'll look at it and see it from a distance. Some of the other books. But like it's not a bad story. And they not teased it, but they teased. We were gonna get an Apocalypse storyline in the Fox movies or whatever, and you saw what we got. Apocalypse is a hard character to put into live action
cinema.
Yeah, it's a hard character to put into live action. So if we ever get these X-Men movies from the MCU, this feels like one of the stories that they're going to tell. Like it's it has everything because they can go, multiverse and alternate characters. It has everything that they would want to be able to do to not have to stick to any version of continuity. So, like, it wouldn't surprise me after you get a X-Men movie or two that this is one of their first stories, as they try to stay away from Phoenix, which I would imagine they're going to try to do because it's already been
But
ruined.
they cannot stay multiversal. They're killing themselves because there's no story that has any weight because it just gets undone.
Yeah.
Like the Secret Wars has got to be the way they undo that if they're going to get to like a converged story again.
You mean put everybody all in one universe now? Okay. Yeah.
I mean, the problem is like a lot of the X-Men stories rely on a lot of the X-Men stories that came before them. So you can't really just like pop in, other than like the Krakoan era was maybe the first like fresh start. You can't just pop into, all right, we're going to do this story now, because it doesn't make any sense, because you have to like, oh no, well, see, that's because Jean, like as soon as it involves like Jean or anybody, like it's just, oh well, you need to understand this first. Yeah, Wolverine. So
Jean catching strays, but it's fine. Yeah, I don't know. I had no problem with this.
You skipped over the part where she's basically like subservient to Wolverine in the same way that Rogue is to Magneto.
Yeah, I mean, again, also an inappropriate relationship too, if you start to think about it that way as well. I mean,
she's like the women in this story are like torn between two men and made the worst of two choices. I don't know. It's like there's definitely a theme.
Yeah,
and Scarlet Witch is just a dancer.
Yeah, but Scarlet, whatever. Yeah. Hey man, look, they all can be winners. But anyway, so that's our dip in. Just looking ahead, we'll be, off of this week. And then we'll jump back in like after Labor Day, and we'll jump into the Age of Apocalypse. Hutch and I are going to Dragon Con this week, so we'll get a lot of pictures and whatnot, and the standard rule of, hey, somebody's dressed up as Black Queen shows up. We gotta stop for a minute. Yeah, we gotta take a 20. We gotta stop and hang out for that one. But yeah, it's looking forward to that. Lots of nerdly content will be coming up this particular week. But yeah, other than that, y'all, I'm the producer. I'm gonna sign off as X-Men the Animated Music starts to play us out on the podcast version. I'm gonna sign off. Brother Beavis, go ahead and sign off.
All right, we'll see you in whatever multiverse we end up in.
Man, come on.
Mandela effect.
Stop. Hutch, go ahead and sign off.
The original four.
Golly. All right. We'll see y'all on the other side. Peace, everybody.
Peace.